Hello everybody. Today our topic is ratio and proportion. So now what is ratio? Now, according to the definition, ratio is a comparison of two or more quantities of the same kind by division. So from this definition we can deduce that ratio exists only between quantities of the same kind, and quantities to be compared must be in the same unit. So unless the quantities are in same kind or they are in same unit, we cannot make ratio. Suppose A and B are the quantities of the same kind, so ratio of them is A is to B. So here A is the term called antecedent or first term, and B is called the second term or consequent. Now A and B makes ratio because they are the quantities of same kind and they have the same unit. So if A or B are not the quantities of same kind, we cannot make ratio. Thus, or as we cannot make ratio between 1 mile distance and 1 gallon of water because they are not the same kind, and we can't make ratio between 1 kilometer and 1 meter because they are not the same unit unless we transfer kilometer into meter or vice versa. We cannot make ratio between days and hours unless we transform days into hours or vice versa. So another important thing is the order of the terms in a ratio. This is another important thing because we have seen the antecedent and the consequent make the ratio. So if we interchange the antecedent and the consequent, then what happened? It's become a new ratio, B is to A. So A is to B does not equal to the B is to A. So therefore the order of the terms in the ratio is very important. Now on the basis of the antecedent and the consequent, we can see that if antecedent is greater than the consequent, we can say it is a ratio of the greater inequality, and if antecedent is less than the consequent or first term is less than the second term, we can say it is the ratio of less inequality. And we can transform the ratio into the form of fraction. How? Now let's A is to B, we can write down A by B in this form, the fraction. It is a fraction, so we can write down the ratio into a fraction. So there is a various form of ratio, and there is the compound ratio. What is compound ratio? Suppose A is to B is a ratio and C is to D is a ratio, then the compound ratio is the product of the antecedent of two different ratio is to the product of the consequent of the two different ratios. That is AC is to BD. So now what is the duplicate ratio? So duplicate ratio, if A is to B is a ratio, its duplicate ratio is A square is to B square. And suppose the 2 is to 3 is a ratio, then its duplicate ratio is 2 square is to 3 square. That means 4 is to 9. So what is triplicate ratio? If A is to B is a ratio, then its triplicate ratio is A cube is to B cube. Suppose again we can see that we can take the 2 is to 3 is a ratio and its triplicate ratio should be 2 cube is to 3 cube. That means 8 is to 27. And another ratios are the Subduplicate ratio. What is subduplicate ratio? If A is to B is a ratio, then subduplicate ratio must be root over A is to root over B. Suppose 4 is to 9 is a ratio. Its subduplicate ratio is root 4 is to root 9. That means 2 is to 3. What is subduplicate ratio? If A is to B is a ratio, then cube root over A is to cube root over B is a subduplicate ratio. So now, as for example, suppose 125 is to 216 is a ratio, and its subduplicate ratio is cube root over 125 is to cube root over 216. That means 5 is to 6. Another important one is the inverse ratio. What is inverse ratio? Inverse ratio is nothing. If A is to B is a ratio, then it is inverse ratio B is to A. That means we just interchange the antecedent and precedent and the consequent positions, the first term and second term's positions. So that's the all properties of the ratio and the various kind of ratios. Now, what is proportion? Proportion is nothing. It's an equality of two ratios. An equality of two ratios. That means if A, B, C, D, these terms are in a proportion, that means A is to B must be equal to C is to D. And from this we can write down A by B equal to C by D. Here A and D, these terms are called the extremes, and B and C, this is called the main term or middle term. And now AD equal to BC. So what we see here, we see that the product of the extreme equal to the product of the mean, and that's the way to check either the ratios are in proportions or not. Now again, if A, B, C, D are in proportions, if A, B, C, D are in proportions, therefore A is the first proportion, B second proportion, it is called the third proportion, it is called the fourth proportion. And if the value of A, B, C are given, then the fourth proportion D can be determined by using this formula: second term into third term divided by first term. So how this formula came? It's nothing. It came from the definition of proportion. It came from the definition of proportion. Suppose so A by B equal to C by D. So D equal to what? B into C by A. D equal to B into C by A. So B is a second term, C is third term, and A is first term. And now another is the mean proportion. Suppose A, B, C, these three terms are in proportion. That means A is to B equal to B is to C. Therefore A by B equal to B by C, or B squared equal to AC. Therefore B equal to root over AC. That means the mean proportion is the is root over first term into third term. And it is very useful formula to determine mean proportion. Now come to the properties of the proportion. What is the properties of the proportion? Number one property is that if A is to B equal to C is to D, then we can say that B is to A equal to D is to C. It is called by the property of invertendo. Another, if A is to B equal to C is to D, then we can write down the A is to C equal to B is to D. It is the alterando. And if A is to B equal to C is to D, then by componendo we can get A plus B is to B equal to C plus D is to D. So how it's come? So it's come, that means A, B, C, D are in proportion, and A by B equal to C by D. If we add 1 in each side, then we can get what? A by B plus 1, that equal to C by D plus 1. That means A plus B by B equal to C plus D by D. That means A plus B is to B equal to C plus D is to D. And the fourth property is A is to B equal to C is to D. If A is to B equal to C is to D, then A minus B is to B equal to C minus D is to D. This method is called a dividend. So fifth property is A is to B equal to C is to D. And then we use the componendo and dividendo, we get A plus B is to A minus B equal to C plus D is to C minus D. And if A is to B equal to C is to D, then A plus C is to B plus D. We can get it by addendo, by the method of addendo. And if A is to B equal to C is to D, then by subtrahendo we get A minus C is to B minus D. So now let's discuss about the method dividendo. What is the dividendo? Dividendo is nothing. A, B, C, D are in proportion. Then we can say that A by B equal to C by D. Just we add minus 1 both side. A by B minus 1 equal to C by D minus 1. Then we get A minus B by B equal to C minus D by D. Then we can say A minus B is to B equal to C minus D is to D. So now if we see that it is number 1 and it is number 2, then what should we get from number 1? From number 1 we get that A plus B by C plus D equal to B by D, the form 1, and A minus B by C minus D equal to B by D, it is form 2. So here both are equal to B by D, so therefore you can write down A plus B by C plus D equal to A minus B by C minus D, that equal to A plus B by A minus B equal to C plus D by C minus D. Therefore A plus B is to A minus B equal to C plus D is to C minus D. And this procedure is called the componendo and dividendo.